under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please join us in a moment of silence. Thank you. Amen. We're going to move on to item 1, citizen concerns. No? All right.
Just me?
Just you.
Todd Szymanski. I live at 1275 Buchanan Avenue. I just wanted to visit a little bit about the condition of the gravel roads in rural Woodbury, especially at, like I said, I live on Buchanan Avenue, so I live north of Correctionville Road. In my typical route home is I would take Correctionville Road out of Sioux City, turn onto 140th Street and start going north, and then turn again and go north on Buchanan Avenue. I know this spring has been a seriously different spring than most of them, but I feel like there's a little bit of a breakdown with the secondary roads department where sometimes they're not listening, they're not paying attention, maybe they're not seeing everything that they should be seeing. I've talked to Mark Nera several times. I've talked to Ben in the secondary roads office also, and I'm sure that a lot of my neighbors have called too. I know that Rocky's had a few people that have contacted him. So Rocky and I just talked a little bit before the meeting here about the roads, and he mentioned that you may have some funding ideas in mind, which is great. But I feel like there's maybe a little bit more of a breakdown than that going on, and I'll tell you just a little bit. So I've personally seen the road grader several times, and is he based out of Moville? Does he come from Moville to get to us?
I do not know.
Okay. I've seen him several times where he'll be driving down the road and he might put his blade down 5 to 10% of the time. So if he sees something, maybe it's a frost boil or maybe it's a bump that he thinks needs to be done, he'll put the blade down and smooth this out for a little bit. But so 90% of the road is being left unmaintained, if you will. And the way that if you don't live on a gravel road, mainly what happens is as traffic moves on it, the rocks either get pushed down into the dirt or get pushed off the side into the shoulder or the ditches or whatever. So then you're left with 3 fairly substantial dirt tracks that the tires go on. So you can usually see these when you're going down the road, which is great because that's usually smooth. But if it's at a stop or a start point or an acceleration point, there's washboards that are created. With the amount of moisture that we've had, there's potholes quite often. So this road grader will see stuff and take care of it, but there's a lot that he doesn't see. The other thing that's been happening is we've had so much rain, these 3 dirt trails that I'll call them that are from tires turn to just mush on the top. So we have extremely slick, extremely muddy conditions, but I'm here to tell you, you can see where that 5 to 10% of the time where he puts his blade down, if it rains the next day, it's great because there's gravel there, so it makes a huge difference. So really my big concerns are, first of all, the amount of maintenance that the county's doing, which I feel like has gone down considerably this year compared to other years. I've lived in the same area for 50 years. So I've been on these roads every day of my life practically for a long time. So I have a fair amount of experience in the road condition. So I see that the county is maintaining them less and less. We're seeing less and less gravel that's being applied to the road. And now this new circumstance of only spot grading really has me concerned because we're just going that much farther downhill in the amount of maintenance. Does the county have any plans right now, or what are we going to see in the future here to fix this? And can we do anything to talk to Mark Nera or someone else in that secondary roads office to say, hey, this guy is using resources and time to drive all the way out to this area, then he's driving around for most of the time. How do we conquer that?
I guess on that front, I don't really know because I'm not the expert on how to run a grader or why they're doing it the way they do. I know Mark has a lot of reasons and explanations for why and how they do certain things. I know that the responses of getting out and grading the roads throughout the county were slowed pretty dramatically because of the flood repairs that were done. A lot of the repairs done throughout the county roads were done by our own crews and not contracted out. So that left less time for graders to be out on the roads. Also, an abnormally long rain season, just makes it that much worse. This fiscal year, this, budgetary cycle, we have already increased the amount of money going towards gravel, but to pass something now and have it come immediately just isn't really the speed of government. But we are working on something that, what's it take, about 7 months or?
Take it about 4 months, 4 or 5 months to do a plan that they're talking about.
Because it involves using TIF revenue, and to do that we have to expand the TIF district, which requires time. The speed of government is not like a business. We just can't, go out and spend another 100.
I had an idea that we would talk about money today. And so I know that there was flooding in Hornick and around Mobile, a lot of I'll call them ag areas because there's mainly farmland out in some of these areas. So I did a little bit of work on the GIS site today. And so when I say that I turn from Correctionville Road to 140th Street, I take 1 mile of gravel before I get to Buchanan. That 1 mile on 140th has $3.6 million worth of assessed value on it. When I turn onto Buchanan, if I was to take Buchanan from 140th to 120th Street, that's a 2 mile stretch, we have $9.6 million of assessed value. So we're looking at over $13 million worth of value in this 3 mile section of road. So I understand that there's issues with other parts of the county, but that assessed value shows that this isn't farmland, this is houses, and so there's houses equal population, so we have a lot of traffic on these roads. So the traffic is the main thing, and so we have people that, there's bumps on the road, there's washouts, whatever you have, so people are driving in a way that they typically shouldn't be driving. If they're going over a hill and they're in the middle of the road, on, God forbid, on the wrong side of the road, because there's issues with the road, and we're talking about safety issues, and really, my wife and I have little kids, so we, I see this way more than I would have 20 years ago. So I'm far more sensitive to this than I ever have been before, and I think that, yes, I understand it's a financial situation, but we're here because it's a safety issue more than that. So, and we're not talking about bring us side dumps of gravel right now and do this, but get the road grader out there to do his job like he's supposed to be doing and do it on a timely manner like he has in the past. So we understand that this stuff happened in other parts of the county, but we're still here.
And that's part, like I said, I can't answer to as far as getting the grader out there and how he operates the machinery and that aspect of things. I don't know if anyone else had anything they wanted to add.
We could just ask Mark.
Yeah, I would hope that we can, I called him on Friday, didn't hear back from him. I left a message, didn't hear back. So would just like to know that he knows that people are concerned about it, which I know that they've had a lot of phone calls, because I've heard other neighbors that have talked about it, but just
Todd, I think, and not to interrupt, forgive me, but I talked to Mark about once or twice a week at least, but I think he was out of town last week.
Okay.
So
I just wanted to bring it to your attention. We would seriously appreciate any help you guys could help with.
we're not going to let it go.
I appreciate that. Thank you, guys.
Moving on to item 2, approval of the agenda. I'll move it. Microphone's off, sorry. Approval of the agenda, I'll approve it. I'll move it, excuse me.
Second.
Second by Ung, motion by Raddick. Any further discussion on that? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes 4-0. Moving on to the consent agenda, items 3 through 7.
You have a set time.
Oh, we have a set time. I'm sorry. That's what you were saying. Item 9, the 4:40 set time, not to exceed $787,559 general obligation capital loan notes. A, the public hearing on the authorization of a loan agreement and the issuance of notes to evidence the obligation of the county thereunder. We're now in the public hearing.
Don't look for them all.
Yeah, there aren't too many here.
All right. Well, then I guess I'll move the public hearing's closed.
Second.
Motion by Raddick, second by Ung. Any further discussion on that? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Passes 4-0. And then moving on to the approval of resolution instituting proceedings to take an additional action. I'll move to approve the resolution.
Second.
Motion by Raddick, second by DeWitt. Any discussion on that? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes 4-0. Item C, approval of resolution declaring an official intent under Treasury Regulation 1.150-2 to increase debt to reimburse the county for certain original expenditures paid in connection with specified projects. I'll move that resolution.
Second.
Motion by Raddick, second by Potabom. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? It passes 4-0.
And then next week will be the final part of the process of borrowing the money. The money, the low bidder was Security Bank at 2.44%, which is a good interest rate.
Tell them to keep that one in mind in the future.
Yeah, really. Thank you.
And back to 5A, approval of resolution for suspension of taxes through the redemption process for BE. Would you like this pulled off the consent agenda? Or just,
Yeah, I think that's one that we should have some further discussion about.
all right, we'll just pull that off here. Move on to 5B, approval of resolution for the abatement of taxes for Siouxland Oromo Islamic Center. C, approval of resolution for tax suspension for EM. Item 6 from Board Administration, approval of notice property sale resolution for parcel known as 1900 Riverside Boulevard for Tuesday, June 18th at 4:35 p.m. Item 7 from Human Resources, A, approval memorandum of personnel transactions, and B, authorization to initiate hiring process. Any other questions on anything on the consent agenda? I'll go ahead and move that.
Second.
Motion by Raddick, second by Ung. Any further questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Passes 4-0. And back to 5A. So this is the approval of resolution of suspension of taxes through redemption process for BE.
Yeah, and the reason I brought this up, when I saw it on the agenda, the amount of the outstanding taxes kind of jumped out at me. I think it was roughly $19,000. And when we do a redemption, a suspension through the redemption process, that means that they've come in really late in the process. It's already gone to tax sale. And rather than just not collecting those taxes, we have to reimburse the tax sale purchaser. So in other words, we have to come up with the $19,000, pay that out, and actually redeem it on behalf of the property owner. So it's something that we usually try not to do or encourage people to come earlier in the process. Part of the reason why in this case there's such a large amount outstanding is that the property was previously under tax suspension. I believe it was this individual's mother, okay. And when she passed away, and I believe that was in 2016, the property came off of tax suspension, and the tax really should have been addressed at that time through the estate, but apparently it wasn't. So now the son is requesting the tax suspension, but in looking at the application, it doesn't appear that he meets the criteria. Under the code section, the board has to make a determination that the applicant cannot contribute to the public revenue. So we typically see that as someone either on like a permanent disability, fixed retirement income, something like that. But it doesn't appear that this individual is under that situation. So my recommendation would either be to give this individual a chance to come in and explain if there's any other additional extenuating circumstances, or just on the face of it, it looks like it doesn't meet the criteria to be placed under further suspension.
Any other questions for?
Yeah, I guess like you said, it somehow got overlooked during the settling the estate.
That would,
So does that automatically, since it wasn't, does that automatically give this person the right to ask for this continuing?
no, it doesn't pass down. And it really, I mean, just in general, if I was advising someone, I think a tax suspension is a bad idea because the taxes continue to accrue and the interest accrues as well, I believe. So you're just deferring that tax bill. And typically it would be taken care of through an estate. It may have been, I don't know if the estate went through probate or not, but sometimes when you have a transfer amongst family members, there may not have been a title opinion done, so.
Since I went to one of the heirs,
Right,
son or whatever.
right. So it may not have come to the forefront, but he would have received tax statements right away. And so starting after it came off the suspension in 2016, and it actually went to tax sale in 2018. So it's something that they've been aware of.
Wasn't
for
a surprise to
a
me.
couple of years, right? So it's, you feel for the individual, but the tax suspension is not really designed for something like this.
Was there any other interaction with the board office or any interaction from this individual, or did they send it in? I'd move to reject.
Second.
Motion by Young, second by DeWitt. Any other questions or discussion?
Are we planning on getting a hold of him and letting him know that he can come here and if there's other things that we don't know?
And I'd be okay with giving him a call after tonight and just seeing if there's anything else out there.
You will?
I can do that.
Okay. I mean, I would prefer we at least find out. Maybe there's things we don't know. Yeah.
But it just sounds like this wouldn't have been the avenue anyway.
Yeah.
So,
Or it shouldn't have been.
yeah.
Okay, as long as we're going to contact him, I'm fine with it.
All right. So I guess I have a question then. Is it better to delete the item or to just deny it?
Either way, basically has the same effect.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The denial passes 4-0. Moving on to report on committee meetings. I had none. Rocky, any?
No, sir.
All right. Citizen concerns. Brett?
He's ignoring you.
The baseball draft. I didn't even know they still played baseball.
Wait a minute.
I don't even know what
Did you see who the #1 kid was? Kid from Oregon State? Did you see what they did to him in the regional? Bases loaded, and they walked the guy rather than face him. They walked to run in.
All right. Well,
Must be scary.
move on to board concerns, which we'll start with Michelle. How about that?
Sure. I do have a request of the board. Due to the Tyler project, we're going to be doing a data poll on June 19th, which means that we need to have all our accounts payable and our payroll claims paid by 1 o'clock on the 19th. In order to do that, we would like to pay the claims on June 17th. I'm sorry, June 18th, which is a Tuesday. So in order to be approved for that, we would need a special meeting on June 17th to approve the claims. Monday, June 17th, or first thing on the 18th, and then we would pay the claims on Tuesday. And then we'll still do payroll and get that paid on Wednesday so we can do our data poll.
What time?
On Monday?
9 a.m.?
Whatever works best for you guys.
You can do it on Monday. I'd rather do it in the afternoon. Because all it'll be is a quick meeting to approve claims,
Right.
right?
Yes.
That's something that can be done via phone?
No, I called PJ and he said we do have to have a meeting to approve them.
I'm open to whatever time.
Did you say Tuesday
I work,
morning?
I
Tuesday
work
morning
10
would
to
be an
9
option.
on Monday.
How late on Tuesday morning?
I'd prefer by 10.
Okay. I can make either work.
9:30 a.m.
Which day, Tuesday or Monday?
Monday?
9:30 a.m. on Monday.
Yeah.
You'd really only need 3 board members here as long as
Yeah.
everyone was in agreement with the claims.
I'll see if I can get a part-timer to fill in for me, because I'm the only one there during the day. And I do my schedules a month in advance.
Notice out.
Want that down here or the old board office?
Old board office is fine. Okay, set up for June 17th at 9:30, Monday morning in the old board office. Thank you.
All right. A.m. What do you got there for us, Matthew? Nothing? All right. Rocky and Marty?
Yep.
All right. And then we did have lots of discussions on TIF over the weekend. David and I, and through roundabout through the attorneys. It does seem like, as far as legality goes, that using TIF is definitely a possibility on the roads, and I'll consider that myself. So I don't know if we're going to have that back on the agenda, or we're waiting for Jeremy to get back, or is it?
I think you need to wait till the engineer comes back, shows you what we
Right.
need to be in the TIF district.
Okay.
In a couple months.
Okay, so that's what we're waiting on. All righty, and that was it, so we're adjourned.
Hey, thanks for coming. Hostile work environment.
Okay.
Only okay?
Yep, that's all.